In this episode of BEA Conversations, we are speaking with the lovely Ailynn Seah, Vice President of Sales, MIC and Association at the wonderful Marina Bay Sands. Now, we are talking on mental fitness to leadership. As we all know, Ailynn leads very little introduction because she's an industry veteran, and we want to get inside her mind on how she balances stress and challenges. Ailynn, thank you so much for spending time with me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we often talk about stress, and when the word is being mentioned, often you get some mixed reaction on people's faces. It's either they sort of shy away from stress, or they try not to front it when they are not quite ready. So why does stress have such a bad reputation?
Well, stress triggers fight or flight response. Yeah, so I feel that biologically it is just a natural response, right? Because there's that perception of, is there challenges coming up, is there difficulties coming up? That's why people kind of feel stressful, right? Yeah, but I think it does, and stress, scientifically proven, it has a physical and biological impact on the human body, right? So I think that's why generally it's perceived as something negative. But I think it's not always bad. Like for me, I seem to thrive well under stress. So stress has its advantage. And for example, earlier part of my career, I have I work for a general manager who's extremely temperamental. We will all go to the morning meeting, and he'll start the morning meeting with the most unmotivating statement. He's quite brutal in the way he speaks. He tear people down, and he's very negative, and everybody left the meeting feeling very unmotivated. And sometimes when the managers go back to the office, I think it does have an impact on us, and I realize I'm one of them. And then because I was stressed by the whole thing, and I was just sometimes not behaving the way I should be. But not long after that, then I realized that I saw a monster coming out of me. I don't really want to behave like that because it's causing me so much stress. It's causing the team so much stress. And then I realized that one day in one of our one-to-one session, then I asked him, I said, how are you and your family? And his whole countenance changed. Wow. And then I realized, oh wow, perhaps I think being heard and being listened to is something that is something that human nature, I think we felt appreciated. And we had a very heartwarming conversation, because I always believe that there's always a root cause to people's behavior, right? And so we have a lot of very nice exchanges in terms of lives, challenges and all that, and then he became a much better person, not because of me, because I realized he has no friends. And everybody was so afraid to go near him because he's always negative, he's always angry, he's emotionally not a very controlled person. But then over time, he changed. I don't know, for whatever reason he changed, and I'm just thankful that today we're still very good friends.
Yeah, that is such a wonderful example, and I think just listening to that story, I can so see that you were very compassionate to his situation, and you had a very humane conversation with him. You treated him as a person. You asked about his family. So I feel that is, even to today, when I had previous discussion with you, that's always how you've come across. You look at people as an individual, which is so important for leaders at the moment, to treat everybody as human and not just a job function or job title or customer. And I think you're very relatable that way.
I think it's important that we treat others like the way we like to be treated, because we don't always see it that way, right? It's just human nature, like me first and then everything else later. So I think from a very young age, at the start of my career, I keep telling myself, I think I should treat others like the way I like to be treated. I think that helps, but I can't say I'm perfect. I do have my bad days too.
Oh, everybody has. Ailynn, how has stress helped you build your career over the past few decades?
I've been, when I first started my career, my dad is a very learned person. So I went up to him, I said, hey Dad, how can I be successful in life and yet, kind of had a purpose-driven life? And he said this to me, he said, he's very well read, so he loves Sun Tzu Art of War. So he shared one virtue with me. He says, the art of the supreme art of Sun Tzu Art of War is that if you can win many battles without fighting, it's a virtue. But if you have to keep fighting to win battles, that's not a virtue, because it's very consuming. It distracts you. It consumes your energy. So I kind of take that with me, and when I kind of became a manager, I kind of no, there's two types of managers, right? You're either a peacetime manager or you're a wartime manager. And I somehow thought, I think I'd like to be a peacetime manager. But given this virtual he shared with me, I said, well, I'm going to be a wartime manager because, I guess in wartime, you need to react fast, you need to think fast, you need to control your emotions, whereas peacetime, you got all the time to do whatever you want to do, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think at very early stage of my career with this, I decided that I'm going to be a wartime manager, and I think that value has helped me right through many circumstances, both personally and at work.
The Art of War is one of my favorite books
that
we've been exposed to as Asian kids, Asian family. They help to educate values in terms of whether it's work ethics or personal life. The number one example from that book that I remember from young is the fact that we always, before we fight or go into a war, we make sure that we have a mountain behind us, Kaoshan, and then the river ahead of us as an escape route. So I love that you use that example. Now, you were saying that obviously no one is perfect. So were there incidents whereby you could not manage the stress, and how did you overcome situations as such?
Certainly I have. I mean, I had some ups and downs in life as well. So I kept a book called A Dream Book. And then in this dream book, I know it sounds a bit old-fashioned, but
no, it's not. I'm loving that.
Yeah. So instead, when I was young, I write a lot in my little secret book. But then, as I progress in years, then I said, oh well, I'm going to call this a dream book. So in this dream book, I usually will write my aspiration. My big dreams. I think I did share with you that actually, before I entered the hotel business, I wanted to perform in West End.
Yes.
And then went for audition, failed, and then came back and thought, oh well,
Too bad.
Yeah. So I do have all these big dreams and then my aspiration, but I also record my broken dreams, like things that didn't turn out the way I wanted, like not being able to sing at West End for failing on my audition. And then I also kind of record all my achieved dreams. So, often, every week, actually, I'm quite blessed to be staying near East Coast Park. So every weekend, that's the only time that I'll go for my morning walk, and I do a lot of reflection. And during this time, I often will reflect on how has my week been, how have I been in terms of personally at work and everything else. And so this dream book kind of always reminded me, like, especially in my down moments, like moments that I don't do well and I couldn't cope well with stress, and I would always look at it and look at some of my victorious moments and my happy moments, and I think that just caused me to kind of rise to the occasion again.
As the years go by, did you find that by going through your dream book writing, the reflection, that you've become easier on yourself, or perhaps more accepting of certain situations that could be beyond your control?
Actually, I guess to be easier on myself. I'm not sure if it's age as you progress in years,
Through experience.
Yeah, and then again, like after a while, it's like, you really just want to know what are your priorities in life, like one of which is one of my favorite books is Richard Carlson's book called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And then as I progressed, in the beginning I didn't really appreciate it as much. I said, how can everything be small stuff, So but as I progress in years, then sometimes you just kind of said, okay, what if I win this battle? What if I don't get this? What if I get this? What difference will it make to me in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, right? Yeah. So all this is my dream book. So there are times I argue with myself, like, that's a silly thing, you should have, like, go for it. But I think quite often I start to develop a heart of gratitude, and then I just like, it's okay. I think if I manage this well, it's great. If I don't, it's okay. I'll try it again. And the dream book helped me do a lot of introspection. I mean, our mood is not the same every day, right?
No, not now especially.
So I have good days and bad days, but I think particularly I always check back on my bad days and like, how did I manage? And I said, like, I could do it. Yeah.
I think it calls nowadays, especially during COVID, or we are COVID transitioning through uncertainty, it calls for a lot of positive mindset. So how would you advise for us to look at stressful situation and turn them into so-called possibility or positive challenges in life?
A balance, I think a good balance between body, spirit and soul is important. Everybody talks about work-life balance, but to me, I think work-rest balance is even more important, because
great advice.
If you don't have that restedness, you don't have life. right? And I'm a very driven person, so, and I hate wasting time. I just hate like doing nothing. Then actually at some point of my life I realized being active doesn't mean you're productive, because sometimes I say okay, and being inactive also doesn't mean that you're idling, right? Because everybody needed that rest. So in terms of, and I'll start with body, and I think it's about self-care, because I think a lot of time that all of us know that health is wealth, but we know that, we have to do this right, we have to do that right, but oftentimes, until something happened, then it's like, okay, I have to give this priority, but oftentimes we don't. So I feel that self-care is important, because I did, at some point in my career, I had short sleep, lots of travel, and then I had some life-threatening moments, and then I realized that wow, self-care is so important. So I would think work-rest balance is very key.
Yes, I agree with you. It's the keep on balancing.
Exactly. And then in terms of the next point, I was saying body, spirit. So spirit, I mean personally, my faith as a Christian has helped me navigate many the toughest storm in my life. I think it kind of, sometimes people say, religion is only for the weak, but I don't think so, because I felt that my faith has kind of helped me in a lot of situations, because when there's hope, then you feel that there's life. And then also one of the things that birthed out of a very stressful moment that I have to go through in life, my husband was diagnosed with lung cancer at one stage of his life, or my late husband now. And and we were like visiting hospital a lot, and hospital is not the most motivating and encouraging environment, right? Especially in the cancer center. Then we realized that and we're spending so much time there, and something good birthed out of it. We kind of came up with this Cards for Hope project, which is the making of encouragement cards from recycled material. And I'm a big sustainability fan.
You are huge. Yes.
Yeah. So that was awesome, because the encouragement cards that we were like spending so much time, but Asians, you can't always go up and say, hey, how are you today? And some people just don't feel like talking. So by just extending a card, and actually a few amazing things came up, was the people, some of the volunteers we have right now, they were recipients of those encouragement cards, and they're volunteers now. And because they've journeyed through that, so they have kind of found purpose even in the midst of the sickness or the storm they're going through. And so we continue with that. So like during this pandemic period, I had some friends that lost their job and all that. And I said, hey, come help me make encouragement cards. And they came out with the most amazing thing that I never knew they had those talent. Yeah. So
I absolutely again love this example, because when we talk about culture bridging, because we are a very inclusive and diverse community in Singapore, and from our culture in terms of being brought up as Asian, we may not be as expressive. Like you said, not everyone can go, how are you, and straight away give you a hug, and what's not, right, without feeling some level of awkwardness. So this writing of card will allow us to take our time to digest certain messages, or even to respond, or to understand that, okay, great, someone wrote me a card in terms of expression of love or in care and concern, and I think it's a brilliant idea. Thank you. Now we've talked a lot about, and you've always been very supportive when we talk about this series that we're embarking on when it comes to mental fitness. So why is mental fitness important to you?
I personally felt that good mental fitness kind of gave us a better life, a happier life, and a more meaningful life. Yeah, and then it's important. Particularly, I felt that it gave us clarity, it gave us perspective, because when stress or negative emotion is not managed, I think it really cloud our mind. And then it's just like my first boss, I realized that he's actually a very good guy, but it's just that I think he couldn't manage his emotion and his mental wellness, and he became a very angry, very ugly person. So I feel that that's really the ultimate, right? I mean, everybody wants to pursue happiness in life, and everything centered around your personal wellness, and you can take control of that.
Yes. I mean, in every possible way we can. It's either an alignment or not. So thank you so much for spending time with us, and we wish you all the best for the rest of 2020.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I do have one parting word.
Yes, please.
And my parting word is, the great business of life, it's really about managing and controlling your negative emotions, and we have full control of that. So take control of any of your emotion, because at the end of the day, you must make that your master and not let the emotion be master over you.
Love it.
And I can almost be certain that negative situation will become positive challenges.
Absolutely. And I'm 100% with your parting words.
Thank you.
Thank you for your wisdom.
Thank you.